Welcome, viewers, to the latest edition of Casino Life and Sports Betting Operator TV. My name is Peter White, and I'm the owner of this media. Today we have Julia Carcamo, founder of the Casino Marketing Bootcamp. Welcome, Julia.
Thanks for having me. It's a beautiful facility where you're at right now.
Thank you. I've got Mark Banks, General Manager of the Viage Grand Casino Brussels, for letting us use the VIP room during the European Championship finals. So thank you, Mark and the team. And I guess if that's okay, we'll crack on with the first question.
Sure.
Could I just ask, could we commence this interview with a kind of an insight into the background of your organization?
Well, it's been quite an evolution. I started my company in 2013, and I had just recently left the employ of a regional casino operator here in the US. I thought that I would be in high demand to do some work for other casinos, and I was surprised that that wasn't the case. But what I did discover was this sort of niche, working with some newer casino marketing vendors that were looking for some insight into the world of the land-based casino marketer and kind of their life and how they could get their products in place. Eventually, we started doing a little bit more casino work, but I think the biggest evolution for us and for me has been 5 years ago when we started Casino Marketing Bootcamp, which is a training program that we do for casino marketers. We started with one event, and now we're doing the signature one in New Orleans, and we do some regionally. We do some webinars. We have online master classes that we're teaching, and it really has been a dream come true. I love doing the mentorship and the teaching part.
Fabulous. I mean, how did you come to work in the gaming industry?
Oh my gosh, that was it quite circuitous, but I early in my career worked in nonprofit, and as nonprofits go, you have many volunteers that help you out with different programs. One of these volunteers happened to have been a casino host at one of the close casinos on the Gulf Coast. Now, at the time, the Gulf Coast was just, I think the third market that was opening up in the US to gaming, as the US gaming market was, found its first expansion. And I thought it was quite an exciting world, but I really had no desire to do what needed to be done to get into a marketing position at that point in time. Fast forward a couple of years later, there was a casino that was being built and opened here in New Orleans, right in my backyard. And she happened to be working there, and they called me because they needed a position filled. And she and another person that I knew there had confidence in me enough to bring me to their VP. And I got this wonderful job. I have to tell you that was my first casino job. I started 1 week before the casino opened, and 9 weeks later it closed in bankruptcy. So my first experience was very different. I mean, a lot of people were new to gaming, so they were kind of, burnt right there. And there was something about the industry and that environment that I just loved. I mean, it really, really touched me. And so I, progressed. A few months later, I got a job at another local casino. I worked at a few of them here in the New Orleans market. Eventually, I went to Las Vegas and worked there at the Harris, now Caesars corporate office, and then for Steve Wynn. And it's just been a wonderful, wonderful career. I couldn't ask for anything better.
Fabulous. I mean, obviously, you enjoy the industry, and because if you've made it your life's career.
I did, but it's more than my career. It kind of has become my life because of the friendships and the relationships that I've built in the industry too. Some of my closest friends are people that I've especially opened casinos with, because you build great relationships with those people that you go through that unique experience with. But the vast majority of my friends are from the casino space, so it is kind of my life too.
How would you best describe the casino marketing boot camp, and what's behind the story of the creation of the casino marketing boot camp?
So Casino Marketing Bootcamp came out of a conversation that I had subsequent to attending a conference. And I've always loved attending conferences. I try to speak at them. I like to be in the conversations. I think there's so much to learn there because you get such different viewpoints. When you're working at your casino, you don't get that exposure to different operations and what they're doing. So conferences really bring that to light, and they really help you become better at your job. But I was speaking to a fellow speaker, and she said to me, I never know what happens with all the information that I share, because I work hard on these presentations. I try to give the best information, but I don't know what happens when people go back to the property. And I was a property person, and I said, I know exactly what happens when you go back to the property. You get busy, and all the ideas that you wrote down that you had every intention on following through with sort of end up at the bottom of a pile. And then, you go through planning for the next year, and you find that dusty notebook, and all of a sudden you go, oh, I forgot to do that. Or no, we didn't do that. And so what we said was, we think there's a need for some kind of gathering where people could actually build the plan. So it's more than just ideas. It's, how do I take this idea, and what's the next step? What's the next following step? How do I get this implemented at my property when I get back? So that's how casino marketing started. And we really evolved into being very hands-on, very interactive. Anybody that registers, we send pre-arrival assignments. So there's usually about 8 to 10 assignments that get sent to you before you arrive. And they just really are a way to prepare for this kind of conversation that we have at boot camp. But it's been, it's such a unique environment. Every single coach that I have had participate has said to me, I can't believe how different this is. And they get involved in every conversation. It's not just about one speaker getting up there and just sort of sharing a PowerPoint. They include exercises. We divide up into groups. You create your presentation, you present it really quickly to the rest of the group. It's a really great environment. I can't say enough of it, obviously.
Well, what is the format for the training sessions participants have? Is it like a hands-on activity, or is it more of a kind of like a lecture-based presentation?
So initially we did have more lecture, but a lot of discussion. Now all of our sessions are just very, very interactive. So depending on the coach, and I like to give them the ability to just flow with their own style, because I think that connects better with the group. So they'll do a couple of slides, and then they'll have an assignment. Now, if you remember, I said that we do pre-arrival assignments. Sometimes those assignments have something to do with the hands-on assignments. So it gives them a good foundation. I split up the attendees. So a lot of times they'll come, 3 or 4 people from one property. So we split them up, which is unexpected. They walk into the room and they're very surprised to find that they've gotten assigned seating like in school. And I tell them all the time, just stick with these seats today. Tomorrow you can go back to your own group. They never have they gone back to their own groups, because they really bond as they're working on these assignments. So we'll put them in different groups. Usually they're located close to each other, so they can just turn around and chat and put together things. This year, some of them were hiding behind columns to put their work together, as if they were creating the competitive marketing plan and they didn't want the casino up the road to see it. I mean, it was really amazing. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And that's the thing about boot camp, and the thing about learning these tactics is that you have to kind of, get your hands in them and really try them out, so that you can then take them back and actually implement them at your own casino.
These announcements, the ways and means of getting the message out. Have you got any kind of like great insights into how to get heard amongst an awful lot of messages in social media and such and so forth in these times?
So I think there's that answer is a little twofold. One, I think first of all, you have to really understand your customer and your audience. And by doing that, you understand what channels they are absorbing and also where they're getting their information and their inspiration. Second has got to be the message. Now, knowing your customer, you should be able to develop the kind of message that will resonate with them, that will cut through the clutter. So it's not as easy as just like a flashy commercial or a great jingle. You have to have both hand in hand. You have to understand your customer so that you can find the right channels and develop the right message. We talk a lot about that in our casino advertising masterclass.
Excellent. Okay. Well, what are the amongst the most effective rewards casinos can incorporate into the incentive programs to maximize like the engagement from any kind of promotional campaign?
That's a very interesting question. We've had these discussions at boot camp. How do you create preference with your loyalty program? And I think one of the things to remember is that the loyalty program, what the mistake a lot of operators make is they put a lot of richness in their benefits, and then they find themselves having to peel them back. My theory is that you start with the basics. People want to get points. They want to have clarity in how to absorb, how they're going to earn points and how they can redeem them and for what they can redeem them. That's, table stakes. And then the other elements can come as you have the facilities for. I mean, we have a lot of different facilities. Some of them are major resorts. Some of them are just a snack bar and slot machines. The other thing too is that I think that part of the loyalty program, which a lot of people don't really think about, is the training that our team members have and their ability to be able to explain things to customers. That's the biggest complaint we get, is when you don't understand how to do something and how something works. And so the team members play a key role. So it's not so much the card and all of the benefits, it's really how it's communicated.
Are the kind of like universal issues that are challenging casino operations right now, would you say?
Well, I think that staffing has been for a year now the biggest thing that we're seeing, and that is that we can't staff the way we were pre-COVID. And how do we make the adjustments in the facilities so that customers are still having a great experience with the limited staffing? And then with staffing comes the retention. How do we develop our team members so that they have longevity with us? And I think that the other thing that we're starting to see, right now, summer's going to get really kind of tired for a lot of properties. We're not going to be making our best numbers, but how do we create an environment that people still want to come to? So I think it's really understanding that, how do we deliver something that people will want to come to over and over again, and team members. I feel like those are the two challenges, but they're the two things that I think if we can get right, we can become the stars in our markets.
I mean, over recent years, you'll be well aware, sports betting has kind of like taken over in the US. Does your casino marketing bootcamp, does that incorporate and embrace that sector of the market as well?
We had a regional boot camp last year in the Pacific Northwest. So sports betting was going to, come on strong in the Washington area. So we actually dedicated a whole 2 days, half a day, excuse me. We dedicated a half a day specifically to sports betting and how we can incorporate it. But I think one of the things that we're seeing universally at all the regions is that the adding of sports betting is bringing a different customer to our doors. And now the challenge is, how do we get those customers on our casino floor? How do we market to them? How do we get to know them better? And then how do we create the experience that they also want to come to? Because the experiences that we've been creating on a slot floor for all these years is not the experience this new customer is looking for necessarily. So how do we blend the two and still keep true to our brands?
I see. I mean, from a diversity kind of standpoint, what's your view from a women's standpoint in this industry? I mean, are there more CEOs, vice presidents, and directors and senior management now than ever before for females?
I think that it's growing. I think that the Global Gaming Women and the initiatives they have, I was lucky. I've had some great female bosses. The person who brought me to Las Vegas and really opened the world of brands to me was female. I worked for the first female president of a gaming company, Virginia McDowell, and she set a great example for us. One of my better friends is the GM at LaBerge in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I think we're seeing more and more women rise to the ranks because we're starting to understand how to tell our stories and our brand to the people that we work with.
That's fabulous. I mean, just kind of like an and finally question. Can you outline for the remainder of the 2023 what events you have planned?
So we've got we had our signature event. Our signature event takes place in New Orleans at the beginning of the year in March. And now we're doing our regional. So our next regional is in the Midwest. We're going to be at Mystic Lake Casino in August. And that format is going to be more about building your marketing plan. And then we're going back to the Pacific Northwest, although this time we're going to be in Portland, Oregon. And we've got another regional boot camp there. And then, of course, we continue doing webinars. We just finished a whole webinar series on digital advertising channels, which was really well received. Great interaction from the people that were listening in. And then we're redoing more, adding more webinar content. We're going to be kicking off a branding masterclass online training in a couple of weeks.
Fantastic. Well, look, it's a real pleasure catching up with you, Julia. And for viewers, you probably noticed there's been a few things going on, and some of you, the background may have changed, but we've been very privileged to be able to take this interview from the Viage Grand Casino, Brussels. So I'd like to thank you again, Julia, for your time, and look forward to catching up with you probably at G2E Las Vegas later in the year.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for letting me tell my story to your audience.
Pleasure. Bye for now.